Welcome to another edition of One More Light with me, Val Kleinhans. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have the one and only Bailey Lavender here. I fell in love with her on TikTok. You're going to fall in love with her too if you don't know her already, but maybe you do because she just hit 1 million on TikTok with a variety of content. Bailey, thank you for being here and congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I loved the salon skits at first. And
Mhm.
then as I started following for that, I fell into the mental health content because you don't strictly just do skits. You do
Correct.
you you really share what's going on in your day. You remind people to eat for crying out loud because we forget to do that at work. It's hard in the workplace to stay focused on what we need to do for ourselves. So I guess my first question would be, why is mental health that important to you?
My family growing up has always made sure that mental health was very prevalent in our lives. We were fully aware that people struggle with many different things, starting from childhood up until you're almost passed away.
Yeah.
And so they made sure I knew that not everybody is on the same level. And so we all need to make sure that we're able to hold each other up when we are at our lowest.
Mhm.
And
And
so thankfully for them, I was able to grow within my industry and help other people because of them.
were you seeing that others in your industry, and maybe not just your industry necessarily, that people were struggling at work to like stay sane, literally?
Absolutely. Because of horrible bosses or bad work environments or horrible clients or being treated just horribly at work in general.
Mhm.
And it's so common and it's so sad.
Yeah. What made you want to do hair to begin with? Because for anybody that doesn't, for if they don't watch you, your
Mhm.
skits involve hair salons and life as a hair stylist. How did that hair journey begin?
I actually did not want to initially be a hairstylist. I wanted to go into therapy. But was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was really young and ADHD. So schooling was not very easy for me. And during high school time frame, my friends and I would do each other's hair, of course, without a license. And so my mom, one day closer to graduation, was like, "Hey, I know you want to go to school for therapy, but why don't you sit down and really think about going the cosmetology route? Because that's more with your hands. It might be a little bit more easier for you. I really think you're going to do well with it. If you finish that and you still want to do therapy, we'll absolutely go that route. But I really think, knowing you as my daughter, I think we should really hone into this." Started cosmetology school, fell in love with it. I felt like it was a happy medium of therapy and playing with my hands.
Good. Well, did cosmetology school prepare you for the Karens, the bad management that you would run into? Did they give you any clue? No.
None.
So all of this is
None.
learned on the
Yes.
job.
Yes. They don't prepare you for in salon work at all. It is purely to pass state board to get your license. And after that, that's purely on you.
Yeah. And for anybody that doesn't know where you're from, I knew when, as soon as you said Greenville, and as soon as I heard your accent, I was like, I knew that was South Carolina. I lived in Irmo like for about a year and a half in Columbia.
Really?
I did. And I was like, oh my God, of course she lives in South Carolina.
Yes.
I get it. It's hysterical. So, what made you decide to go public with everything that you experienced and everything that you learned, whether it was mental health or hairstyling? Why go on social media and put that out there?
So I was a theater kid growing up. I loved theater, did it for majority of my upbringing, and noticed how TikTok had started allowing people to express themselves. And I was like, let me just act out some skits just for my own pleasure. Let me just have fun with this. And I realized that a lot of my previous coworkers that I'd worked at some of these salons with had to go through therapy, extensive therapy, and really struggling with what they had gone through. And when you're in your shower and you're like, I wish I would have said that,
Yes.
in my skits, I get to say it again in the ways I wish I would have said it.
Hmm.
And so it's been very therapeutic in allowing me to say, that's what I should have said, and be able to say it to that person I never got to.
I know. I would at this point I would like to cordially thank you for ew, no ma'am, because I every time I work at what's I take phone calls for patients for a living. And sometimes when they are doing the most, and sometimes when they're at a 20 and I need them at a 2, I just go, oh, no, ma'am. Let's. let's back up and I'm here to help you. Don't forget
Yes.
that. And they,
Yes.
because they do, they get so worked up that you're like, I got to de-escalate this somehow. So it's
So
almost like that, ew, no, ma'am, gets them
yes.
to completely shift their focus.
The ew is almost like you think I'm disgusting or you think I'm gross, and it
Yeah,
takes them back. It's for sure.
it does. And then I dealt with a few misogynists that deserved a few, ooh, no, sirs. And
Yes, absolutely.
we come across with that too.
I have pretty much found that majority of people say that sir, rather than ma'am.
Really?
Yes, they come up to me in public and they're like, I wish you would have a sir pay or merch or something. And I'm like, well, I'll think about it, because more and more people keep saying I say sir more than ma'am.
Oh my God. The next merch you should do should be like, no Tinas allowed. Like, no Tinas
That's cute.
allowed in this game.
Yes,
We don't want
that's
any
cute.
Tinas hired at our place of business. No,
Yes, all the drama.
all the drama. She's always bringing the drama and stealing too much color. Oh my
Yes,
God, always. Well,
it's
so
always like that.
she is like, I'm not a hairstylist, so I'm always curious to learn. Like, the color and Tina, the character, stealing the color and all that. That's an expense on the hairstylist part, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why it's a big deal.
So yes. So some hair salons, they are booth rental or suite rental. So you provide everything that goes into your space, your color, your tools, everything. Now there are commission salons where they provide everything for you, but they take a percentage of what you make. I have never worked in a commission salon. I don't work well under people.
Mm,
So that is why I went into booth rental, and that is where we started getting stolen from, because at the time, not all of us locked everything up.
okay. And then you had a
Mhm.
couple Tinas, and you were like, no, ma'am,
Yes.
we're not going to do that again.
Yes.
What? How did you have the courage to, or find the courage anyway, to share your journey and what you've experienced? And I would imagine that the motivation has to be, well, you mentioned this a little bit already. Like, I know that other people are going through the same thing, and I'm hoping that they can take whatever, like my confidence to put a
Mhm.
boundary up that they're watching on TikTok, and maybe they'll internalize that and do it for themselves if
Yes.
they need it. How did you get the courage to just say, I need to show people this and I'm willing to?
At first, I didn't have a following, so it didn't bother me. Once I got a following, I got very scared, because of the previous owners that I was making skits about. And that is one of many reasons I have never said their name, and I would never say their name, is because they were extremely sue happy,
Mm,
where I was terrified. But then I started receiving more and more messages from people in the industry or outside of the industry, talking about how it made them see how like horrible their employer was, how like toxic they had been through their relationship, not just in the workplace. And my confidence supposedly was getting passed on to them, allowing them to see that this is actually really gross behavior and I can't allow this to continue. And so getting those messages really kind of drove me to keep pushing out these stories, even if they're minute little stories just in my world, they're huge to someone else.
yeah. They show us how to do what we all wish we could do. I mean,
Yes.
really, you're saying the things to a Karen, or, a bad boss, or a Tina, which you're saying the things that we wish we could say. And
Yes.
for whatever reason, we feel like we can't. Maybe we don't have the confidence. Maybe we're afraid of getting fired. I mean, did that thought ever cross your mind that if I do this,
Absolutely.
I could get in trouble?
Absolutely, that I could get fired. And I found that a lot of people, that fear is instilled as a child. We
Mm,
are taught you don't speak out to adults or to hierarchy. And my family was very good about making sure we were aware that if we didn't see something was okay, we were allowed to speak on it. We were not allowed to be rude, but we were allowed to speak on it and say our piece. And so that I was extremely thankful for, because it has allowed me to grow into the person that I am.
yeah, to have the confidence and just to say,
Yes. Hmm.
ew, no, ma'am, we're not doing this.
Yes. I grew up with a little spicy redheaded mom. She's about 5 foot tall. And so she is like a little chihuahua. So I always joke that I learned a lot of my spice from her.
It's her, and then I think you've mentioned in one other TikTok that you had a tall dad, and you
Yes,
kind of fall
right in the
somewhere
middle.
you fall somewhere in the middle, and that's why you're just like, "I'm doing me and I don't care."
Yes. My family jokes that confident is put in our bottles when we're babies.
Hey, I wish
Yes.
I had it. I mean, because anytime that I talk about, my journey with depression or my journey with anxiety, particularly in the workplace, because that is literally what gave me suicidal ideation was a bad, toxic workplace. And
Yes.
I got through that. It took about like 3 or 4 months to get through it, but there were so many people that were telling me, "Thank you for posting about it. Thank you for talking about it," because I enjoy social media too, and I enjoy
Yes.
podcasting like I'm doing now. And they were like, "Well, thank God you said something because we never talked about it. Our family never talked about it."
Mhm.
Like, so do you think it's important for families just to have the conversation about mental health in general?
Absolutely. Because you don't understand yourself fully unless you talk to the people closest to you. And especially the ones that you've come from, that you were raised around, and they can help you because you idolize them, you look up to them. If they are able to say, I need help, and actually get the help, then you, when you realize you need it, it's not going to be this far-fetched thing, and you'll be more prone to actually going and getting the help rather than idolizing this idea that could take you out of this world and ruin any chance of your future that could be beautiful.
Yeah, you're denying yourself a better
Yeah,
life almost, or
absolutely.
it's and it's so easy. It's like we have the key the entire time and
Mhm.
we never freaking knew. Or that's what I found in therapy. They were like, "Oh, you can use this thing called mindfulness and you can actually put a pause on your emotions before you react." I was like,
Yes.
"Little Italian meatball can pause?" Can pause on the emotion because I came from the direct opposite. I mean, like my Italian American family were loud and and we are allowed to speak our mind,
Right.
but I live in Minnesota now, and the
Mhm.
Midwest is different. So they're a lot more keep that under wraps. We don't
Mhm.
talk about it. We don't really interact with it. We avoid confrontation, and I think that's why I was getting so much feedback as to like, thank you for saying something, anything at all. And I love that your skits give us the power to at least initiate that conversation, even if it's a TikTok video that like maybe sparks a family conversation.
Yes.
Because that does a world of good already. What do you write the scripts, and is dyslexia a challenge with that, or
No, I actually wing it. I have a few friends that they do script work where they write it all out and plan it ahead of time. I get the idea for what I'm going to film, and I just set the tripod up and go for it. I feel like if I'm in the moment, it's a little bit more authentic than trying to write out and remember lines.
yeah, I feel that way too. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes I write things out, sometimes I don't. It just depends. Or if I know that like this person's going to be a little bit more chatty, I could probably ease up on certain things. Uh, your mental health journey, how did you recognize that? Well, I guess my question should be this: what was your mental health journey like?
So I bipolar runs in my family. So I have always been very aware of what the symptoms could look like.
Mhm.
But what I have been diagnosed with is different on the bipolar scale than the family members that I know, which is typically the rage and the anger, that kind of thing that you typically see, the abnormal spending habits, that kind of thing. Where mine is, they call it hyper or hypomanic bipolar. So I have bursts of happy energy, almost like I've drank a Red Bull out of nowhere. And so I, at one point, lost a very close family member, and I could not get out of my depression for anything. I was trying for months, and finally, I sat down with a therapist and explained what my typical day to day is, which is the burst of happy, where now I'm in this lull, and I thought, this is normal. I'm going through a grieving process. Come to find out, the normal energy level for someone who's not bipolar versus someone who is extremely gapped. And I was at a low and I couldn't get myself out. And so going through therapy allowed me to get back to what my normal is, which is supposedly normal or lower than other people's normal. But being able to have family members be aware of their own mental issues have was allowing me to understand myself.
Yeah, that's so key. That's how I found Celexa that I'm on now. I
Mhm.
mean, my in my family, like I was saying, it was a little bit more talked about to begin with, and I think that's a huge help to start. But she was also able to tell me, this is what I take for my depression, my
Yeah.
anxiety. Talk with your doctor about it, see if it's a good fit with you. Were you able to exchange ideas like that with your own family?
Yes, I was, and with them, they had been on a bunch of different kind of medications, and a lot of them made them feel very, like, zombie-like,
Mm,
and so I was able to go through the list of medications and decide if I wanted to be medicated or not, and with mine, I prefer not to be because, as silly as it sounds, I like the burst of energy moments because I don't have the horrible spending habits or bad choices in judgment or anything like that. Mine is I want to get a calendar out and super plan my year.
oh
So
yeah.
nothing horrible that could hurt myself or anyone else. So that's why I've not jumped on to getting any kind of medication for myself, but I am aware of what that looks like. And anyone that's close to me in my life, friends and family, are aware of what it looks like so that if they start seeing bad habits happen on my end, they can make me aware if I'm not self reflecting.
Yeah, which in turn benefits you, which is why it's great to have that line of communication open. And I'm sure they, want that from you as well. That same
Yes,
reciprocated feedback. Like
absolutely.
if you're saying I'm doing the most, you can be like, "Just- let's
Yeah.
let
Let's
me take
tone
a
this
pause.
in.
Let's take a pause and reevaluate
Yes.
where we are." What were some of the most helpful tips that your therapist offered you or any therapy offered you?
Um, Probably to sit down and have uncomfy conversations.
Mm,
I was very, what's the word? I could not stand it. Very distant. I would go numb instead of feeling emotions. And instead of getting myself into those conversations with people that I knew had a flip of a switch would go into anger rage, I learned how to communicate on a better level so that it's not me placing blame on what they've done or what I feel on them, but these are my feelings and how I feel. And this is how it's affecting me.
right. And you have the power to
Mhm.
let that flow however it is. It's hard. It's
Right.
regulating emotion is so key, but it's also really hard, especially when you're ironically in like a creative environment or a family
Yes.
environment that allows you to just but like
Yes.
and you and then
But you
when you
have to hone it in.
right. Well,
Yes.
particularly like when you're dealing with something that you really just don't want to deal with, and then you're
Mhm.
like actively showing that, and you're like, "Oh, I did not mean to make that face." But if I
Yes.
had, if I had the ability to regulate that emotion, maybe
Mhm.
I never would have put that attitude and that vibe out there because wholeheartedly, you probably wouldn't have wanted to in the first place.
Yes. And self-reflection has helped me so much in realizing this is why I react the way I do. But they may react in this way because of X, Y, and Z. And not being able to sit down and understand myself would not allow me to understand other people.
Okay, so that was the key that maybe opened the door to I need to invest time in learning who I am.
Yes.
Because once I do that, then it will help me when it comes to interacting with others.
Interacting with friends, family, clients. I mean, we all have had those customers that come in that are absolutely awful and we can't figure out why they are acting out and being ridiculous. And I have found that the pickiest or the most difficult clients I have are the ones that have no control in their own life.
Mm,
Allowing them to sit down and feel heard for once and not that they are being ridiculous, but actually feeling heard, flip of a switch. They automatically want to hear what I have to say. They're more open and honest. The line of communication is so much easier.
yeah. What do you think are some of the best ways to help somebody feel heard?
Within my industry, I any coaching call I've ever done with any stylist is get out of the mirror, sit down with someone face to face
Hmm.
and actually talk through something and listen instead of talking over someone. So many times we respond or we listen to respond instead of listening to hear.
Yeah. And I mean, you've been able to totally change their day, totally
Mhm.
change the energy. Do they thank you? And does that maybe encourage you to continue to try and be that person?
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many clients I have had that leave in happy tears, or where they are telling all their friends about it and posting about it on social media, how they had such a great experience. And I found that in this industry, it's not just what you do to their hair, it's the experience that you create. And when I first got on TikTok, a lot of what I was posting was about silent hair appointments because I offer those, and a lot of people had never
Right.
even heard about it.
Yeah.
Where, because if people come in and they feel so overwhelmed, young moms or people that have to talk all day at work, and some people don't want to be chit chatty because I'm extroverted. A lot of hairstylists are extroverted, and the people that sit in our chair, not every single one of them are.
No, I
And
think well, I
allowing
think
people,
yeah, I
yeah,
think people who are naturally creative are. They just want
yes,
to and
yeah,
get things
because our
done.
brains are going a million miles a minute.
It is that they have this idea or that idea, or why don't we try this color today, or why don't we try this shape for the cut today, or it's
Yeah,
just, and then sometimes, not everybody's on that vibe. So it's
right.
if you center yourself, you can see what the vibe is and then proceed from there. Like, I'm definitely grateful for my hair girl who does that too. Like, I think she does offer silent appointments, but her and I just have that relationship where we talk enough, but it's not that we're like
Yes,
either of us feel overwhelmed. And
yeah.
I don't know how we found that. Maybe it's just the fact that we've known each other for a little bit, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty consistent with what I want to, so it's not really hard to
Mm-hmm.
make me
That
happy.
helps. That helps
Be
because I found
motivated.
a lot of introverted people, they come in and they feel obligated to have small talk conversations, even when they don't want to. And I've
Right,
heard
right.
some people say, well, if they don't want to talk, just stop talking their ear off. Well, we don't know sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're asking those questions back so that they don't feel like they're being rude to you. And
yeah.
instead of just opening up the conversation before everything gets started, hey, would you like to have a silent hair appointment today, or would you rather have a talkative one? And I've been tagged on TikTok and Instagram where people are now creating signs for their station where you flip it and you have half talkative, half silent or full talkative, different kind of appointment signs. And I'm like, that's adorable,
I do love that. I'm probably a
right?
half and half girl. I'm
Yeah.
probably a half and half girl, but
Hmm.
I love that
I am
idea.
myself.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
I can see that.
Hmm.
What's next for you? What are you excited about? What can we look forward to in your world?
I am excited. This year is a lot of traveling. I have a good bit of traveling coming up within the hair world of different hair shows that I'm getting to go to, and experience. I have not gone to a hair show in 10 years,
Oh wow.
um, because the last one I went to was with the first salon I ever did skits about, and it was a horrible experience.
Okay.
And so now, with the TikTok career kind of blowing up, it has allowed me to figure out what other hair shows are out there, different creators that have different classes going on. And I am excited about the knowledge that comes from hair shows. A lot of people don't know this. So, in hair shows, there are a ton of different classes going on
Hmm.
for these hairstylists to go and watch and learn. And so that is one exciting thing that I get to go do, is go learn from some of the best well-known hairstylists in the world at some of these places.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're looking at it as an exciting thing because it really is. I mean, because I could also see that as like a potential trigger too. Like if you didn't
Mhm.
have the best experience with it one time, you might be reluctant not to go again.
Oh, absolutely.
So how are you preparing yourself mentally for this? Are you just like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do it, no questions asked?
I wrote down previously all the reasons I didn't want to go. And then I sat down and I wrote down all the reasons why I will have an amazing time and why I will come out a better person from it. And the list on the not wanting to go was very little versus the list of the reasons why I would have a ton of fun and have a ton of knowledge coming out of it was extremely long. So the pros and cons list just were evident in which one I should go with.
Yeah, that's a great way to organize your thoughts too. Mental health struggle or not, that's just a great way
Yes,
to like keep
absolutely.
keep all that ish together. But
Yes.
I love it. Well, Bailey, I've had the best chat with you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing, for being the advocate that you are. Is there any one message that you would like to leave any listener with? Anybody struggling, what would you like to tell them?
You're worth it. Keep trying. Tomorrow is always going to be there as long as you're willing to fight for it.
Mic drop. we don't need anything else but that. I mean, that's perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you. I thank you for having me on today.